If your content is only speaking to one type of buyer, you're literally missing out on 75% of the sales that you could be making. It's super common for people to create content for the type of buyer that they are because it's what feels natural and what seems interesting to them. But in reality, when there are 4 buyer types and you're only speaking to one of them, you're missing out on a ton of views, engagement, and ultimately sales. Because there are 4 buyer types, each of them care about different things when they're going to make a purchase decision, and they each need to be sold to and spoken to in a different way. Where your analytical buyer cares a lot about stats and numbers and ROI, your expressive buyer is not going to be motivated by that. They more so value exclusivity and the experience of getting to the end result. Now, what's important for you to understand is that you're not going to try and take and cram all of this into one video or one piece of content. Each piece of content is going to be most impactful if it is created for one type of buyer, but you have to make sure that you're creating content for all 4 of them. And if you're getting engagement but not getting sales, it's probably because you're leaning too heavily on education rather than activation, which isn't going to sell to any of them. Our most successful clients that make multiple 6 and 7 figures are the people who understand how to tailor their content to each of the 4 different buyer types. And you can do this in a very simple way by creating 4 different types of scripts for the same piece of content that you're wanting to create. This is going to give you a ton of longevity and a lot of juice out of every single piece of content that you create, and it's going to really streamline your content production process as well. So the first thing that's going to help you fix this is obviously understanding what the 4 different types of buyers are and how to speak to them. So starting off with number 1, and the type of buyer that I am is a driver buyer. Driver buyers make decisions very fast, and they value content that is going to just give them upfront information and give them a shortcut to the ROI that they're looking for. They value very direct communication, and they tend to buy a little bit with their ego, where they are looking for the fastest, best way to get to the end result, and they're always looking to have a leg up on their competitors. So content that leads with results is going to be very activating to them. An example of this type of content that I create very frequently is something like how my client made 100K from organic content in 90 days, right? Anything that is going to lead with the end result and then backtrack and kind of show them how you got there is going to be very activating. Driver buyers want to see you as an authority, and so it's really important that you not only lead with results, but showcase your credibility and credentials. This is why even on a base level, when we are optimizing somebody's account, we tell them they need to have an authority statement in their bio so that there's something to frame them as an expert, because if there's nothing to position you as an expert, driver buyers are just going to turn the other way. The second type of more assertive buyer type is analytical buyers. They really need logic, data, and proof before they buy. So content that leans into insights and numbers and stats is going to be very activating for them. Also, case studies, industry insights, and giving them a high-level overview of your actual framework and what you actually do for people. Creating a piece of content about, the data behind this content strategy and why it works, that is going to be very activating to an analytical buyer. You'll notice the difference there between the analytical and the driver buyer. Whereas the driver buyer, they're really concerned about the end result and they want a fast way to get there. Whereas your analytical buyer, they're looking at it more from an angle of a lack of trust, for lack of a better way to describe it. Analytical buyers are a lot more skeptical than driver buyers. Driver buyers are going to, if they see something that can get them the result they want, they're whipping out their credit card. Whereas analytical buyers, they really need a lot more proof, and they need that data and those stats to feel safe investing in whatever it is that you are selling. Now we have our more emotional buyer types, expressive and amiable buyers. Expressive buyers, they are typically very emotional, more visionary buyers who make decisions based off of inspiration and things that make them feel good. So storytelling and more movement-based content is going to be really great for expressive buyers, where I talk about creating content that is led with transparency and using future pacing to pull back the curtain and showcase what it actually looks like to work with you. That is extremely activating to expressive buyers. They want to see what the process is. They want to see that it's a good process, that it's smooth, and that it is exclusive. So again, with leveraging storytelling, a piece of content that would be really activating to expressive buyers would be something like how I scaled my business using nothing but organic content. So if you can show them the how, the behind the scenes, that is going to be very impactful to them. Now, it's important because this is an important distinction between how-to content versus how I did something is, again, pulling back the curtain and showing what your actual process is, showing what you do with clients. Whereas how-to content is just dumping information on people that nobody asked for. That's a really important distinction to have when you're creating this type of content. Next, we have amiable buyers, and they really value trust and relationships. And so they need a lot of social proof, reassurance, and hand-holding. They also need to see you as an authority, similarly to the driver buyer, but it's coming from a different place. It's not coming from a place of ego where they only want to be associated with other people who are going to make them look good. Amiable buyers need to see you as an authority because they need to see you as somebody who they can trust. They need to see you as somebody who they can safely follow along with. So using testimonials, behind the scenes, and more community-focused messaging is going to be very activating. Amiable buyers also care a lot about how their decisions are going to impact other people. So speaking to the impact of their investment on their team, family, friends, people in their circle is going to be extremely activating to them. So an example of content that would be really great is like a real client result, how somebody went from 2K to 20K months. And this is going to be important because this is different than the driver buyer content where you're showcasing the end result and kind of working backwards. This type of content is a lot more storytelling where you want them to be able to see themselves in the client result that you're showing and in their before and in their story and transformation. That is going to build trust for this type of buyer. And it's really important that if you want to sell to this buyer type, that you are not positioning yourself as the hero in your content. You have to be the guide. You have to be the person that will hold their hand and take them to the finish line. We had a client who was really only attracting expressive buyers because that is the type of buyer that she was. And I realized that there were so many other types of people in her audience that she just wasn't selling to because she wasn't saying the right things to actually activate them. Also, with the expressive buyers she was attracting, because as we know, the buyer types are kind of like love languages. You might have one prominent, but you still need the other things in order for it to be a well-rounded, fulfilling relationship. And so when you're only creating content for one type of buyer, not only are you not creating a well-rounded, fulfilling relationship for your audience, but you're also missing out on the other types of buyers that could be purchasing from you. So what we did was we adjusted her messaging. She was posting about the same thing, same topic, same information, but we adjusted it to include logic, proof, and urgency, and the close rate literally doubled within a week. The thing is that she had all of these people that were sitting in her audience consuming her content, but they weren't hearing the right things to cause them to take action. I can almost guarantee you that if you are only creating for one type of buyer currently, if you tomorrow posted a couple types of content for the other different buyer types in your audience, you would have leads and sales come through almost immediately from the people who are watching and waiting for you to say the right things to push them over the edge. Really important takeaway here is that people don't buy the way that you buy. Yes, a quarter of people do, but the other 75% of people care about different things than what you care about. So that's why it's really important for you to understand the psychology, understand the other buyer behavior models so that you can effectively create content for all four of them. So what I would do is I would look at your last 5 posts and I would see if you can identify which buyer type they're speaking to. And if you're really creating heavily educational content, the answer might be that they're not speaking to any of them, which is probably why your leads and sales and conversions are so low. So what I would do is create one piece of content for each type of buyer this week and look at the data, look at the stats, and watch your engagement and your lead flow skyrocket. If you, even after watching this video, are still struggling to identify what type of buyer you are, what primary buyer type you're speaking to in your content, or even how to speak to the other 3 in your content, then what I would recommend doing is booking a free gap assessment with our team. You can find the link down below. They'll do a preliminary audit of your entire social media and your strategy and help you put together some next steps to actually scale your brand and get you moving in the right direction. As always, be sure to subscribe to the channel, and if you have any questions, you can leave them in the comments below. And if you want to see what I talked about in this video in action, it's literally everything I post, so head over to my Instagram at kenda.laney to see some live examples over there. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye!